Podcasts on unctv.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Hello everyone, welcome to North Carolina Weekend. I'm Deborah Holt-Noel. You can visit the birthplace of saxophone legend John Coltrane or check out a race at one of America's great motorsports venues, The Rock. But if you want to learn something really surprising about the little town of Hamlet, take your own tour of the train museums. Hamlet, believe it or not, has been one of North Carolina's most prominent train hubs for more than a century, and that history is well preserved.
Back in the day, Hamlet was one of the most happening towns in North Carolina. That's because at one time, Hamlet had more than 20 daily passenger trains running through town.
Hamlet was once called the hub of the seaboard. And to give you a feel for the scale of how big Hamlet was, in 1955, about 2 miles north of here, the Seaboard Airline built at what was at that time the largest classification yard in the world.
The tracks and trains of the Seaboard Airline were the workplace for many of the town's residents, not to mention those from far away. Most anyone living here now can tell you of a family link to the trains.
My family, the Smart family, we're here specifically because of the railroad. My grandfather on my father's side moved here in 1942 from the western part of the state of North Carolina.
My daddy was a track foreman. When I was born, he was in Pembroke, North Carolina.
Riley Watson followed in his father's footsteps with a 42-year railroad career of his own. He worked the tracks and later got a job on the trains. Today, he's a volunteer inside Hamlet Station, where visitors can learn about the town's symbiotic history with the train. Down in the basement of Hamlet Station is the model of the town, complete with working trains and a look at the depot when it was painted white for a time. Just outside of the depot is the Tornado Building, so named for the historic engine it houses.
The Tornado was originally constructed went into service in 1840. Was the first engine in Raleigh, North Carolina. Served intermittently through the American Civil War, was then scrapped, and nobody knows what happened to all those pieces. The replica of the Tornado, which is what we have, it was made in 1892 for the Raleigh Centennial. It's been all over the United States. It's been here in Hamlet for about 50 years now.
Walk outside from here, and you're smack dab in the midst of a little railroad park that is owned by the National Railroad Museum and Hall of Fame. That's our next stop. The name might be a little bit presumptuous, but a visit to the main location for this museum is a must. It's just a few blocks from the depot. Inside, you might meet Bill Williams. He's another child of a railroader who calls Hamlet home. Bill's dad was assistant director of the train yard back when that spectacular facility was first built more than 60 years ago. It was a golden era for the town, all thanks to the railroad.
It's amazing what railroading did for Hamlet back then. It brought us not only the Opera House because of the stay that people got off the train and stayed here overnight, but this is one way our hospital got built. We had several wrecks outside of Hamlet, right here close by before Hamlet had a hospital. And they had to transport these injured people all the way to Charlotte to a hospital. So we had a doctor come in here and say, hey, you folks need a hospital. So that's how our hospital got started.
About 6,000 people live in Hamlet, which is not far from Rockingham, the county seat of Richmond County. Spend some time here immersing yourself in railroad history and maybe grab a bite to eat at the Seaboard Cafe. Hamlet is just a small town that takes a lot of pride in its past and the preservation of those great machines that have helped it thrive for more than a century. I'm Rick Sullivan for North Carolina Weekend.
The National Railroad Museum and Hall of Fame is open Saturdays from 11 to 4 and Sundays from 1 to 4. The Train Depot and Tornado Building are open Saturdays and Sundays from 1 to 5. You can find out more about Hamlet and other things to do in Richmond County at richmondcountyoutdoors.com.
Podcasts on unctv.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.